Hello students. Today is the 12th lecture session, part 1. Topic of the lecture: electronic technology, e-commerce. In this video, we will cover the following topics: electronic technology, e-commerce, mobile commerce, m-commerce, a single information space, informal information space, social networks. Conclusion. Electronic technology. Electronic technology is based on the use of electron and ion beams, electric and electromagnetic fields for the processing and transformation of materials. The methods of electronic technology rely on the direct use of the electric field forces and the properties of the electric discharge in gases, liquids and solids. And its working tool is electrically charged particles of matter, electrons and ions. This tool is not worn out, eternal and universal. Until recently, electronics were used in industry only as a means of automation, control of technological processes. Now it is widely used for direct execution of technological operations that are very complex, and sometimes inaccessible to conventional processing methods. E-commerce. E-commerce, in fact, appeared before its term in the 60s, in the era of mainframe-based applications. One of the first such applications were service computer programs for transport ticket booking, data exchange between various transport services, preparation and coordination of routes for ships and aircraft. The rapid growth of the Internet in the 90s, associated with the advent of web technologies, forced many business representatives to pay close attention to its capabilities. A new type of business has appeared: retail trade via the Internet. In 1997, the Open Buying on the Internet (OBI) standard was introduced. It set out the principles to be followed by e-commerce software that supports open Internet standards. The OBI standard addresses a large class of issues of standardization of all forms of interaction between organizations involved in the full cycle of supply, selling, buying. E-commerce involves more and more sellers and buyers. The turnover of online trade is estimated to date in the billions of dollars. The leader of e-commerce is Amazon.com. E-commerce has a number of undoubted advantages, of which the following can be distinguished. Greater openness of the company in relation to customers. Interaction with customers is aimed at establishing long-term relationships, customer relationship management. A significant increase in the speed of obtaining information for decision making, especially in complex trade transactions involving several companies. A significant reduction in the marketing and sales cycle, the possibility of pre- and after-sales support for the product. This applies especially to software, presentation of detailed information about products and services, documentation, delivery of new versions, etc. Electronic payment of transactions using electronic payment systems. The possibility of organizing virtual enterprises, groups of individual specialists or even companies for conducting joint commercial activities. Implementation of business processes jointly managed by the company and its trading partners. Significantly reduce the costs associated with the exchange of information through the use of cheaper means of communication. The ability to create alternative sales channels, for example, through an electronic store on the corporate portal. If necessary, the facts and frequency of trading operations can be objectively measured by the provider and confirmed by independent auditors, for example, by analyzing log files. Distribution of ownership of intangible assets to be sold or purchased, for example, packages of information in electronic form. There are quite a lot of inexpensive software packages available on the market for conducting commercial activities on the Internet. The disadvantages include the need to purchase specialized software and hardware, if they are not available in the company, the implementation of increased information security measures, the need to work through Internet intermediaries, providers, the possibility of losing business-critical information. E-commerce destinations. According to the OBI standard, e-commerce was the interaction between business organizations through electronic technologies and the Internet. Now it is only one of the sectors of the e-commerce market, which is called business to business. E-commerce is currently divided into a number of areas, the main of which are considered business to business, BB, business to customer or business to client, C, consumer to business, CB, consumer to consumer, SS. Also considered are the relationship between business and consumers with state and other governing bodies, the business to government, BG, consumer to government, G. The BB sector was previously defined as intercorporate interaction in the enterprise system using electronic data exchange standards for the transfer of business information. Initially, this term referred to the processes of buying and selling goods and services between enterprises in the online mode. Currently, BB is understood as any process of interaction between enterprises or divisions of one enterprise to solve business problems, which can be implemented using information technologies and via the internet. The field of activity of participants in this sector is virtual BB platforms. Such sites are usually divided into three types, depending on who creates it. Suppliers or sellers, supplier-driven or seller-driven. By buyers, buyer-driven. Third-party-driven. The emergence of certain types of trading platforms depends on the degree of influence of buyers and sellers in this area of the economy. Supplier-driven platforms. Large sellers play an active role in the formation of trading platforms. This happens for various reasons. Some companies want to attract as many wholesale buyers as possible, others to reduce the cost of sales, and others to be able to unite with partners and dictate their terms in the market. For example, several large American companies that produce medical products, Johnson & Johnson, G Medical Systems, Baxter International, Abbott Laboratories, and Medtronic, have made efforts to create a common internet platform, Global Healthcare Exchange, in the field of healthcare in order to avoid paying commissions to the owners of sites where they previously worked. In Russia, such sites are organized in the raw materials and manufacturing industries, in heavy engineering, in the agricultural sector, by energy companies and food producers. Buyer-driven ad platforms. One or more large companies create their own trading platform to attract suppliers. The concept of such trading platforms arose in connection with the needs of large companies in optimizing the procurement process, expanding trade contacts and the supply network at wholesale prices. Examples include the automotive industry in the United States, where Ford, and Daimler Chrysler have teamed up to create a global online marketplace, or healthcare, where Tenet Healthcare has joined forces with Ventra to create an internet marketplace focused on the needs of the medical products market. Third-party-driven ad platforms. Such sites are created, maintained, and managed by a third party in order to bring buyers and sellers together. Usually, such platforms are created by those who are well versed in a particular business sector, and serve to generate income in the form of a percentage of completed transactions. Examples of such platforms can be electronic exchanges and auctions, BB exchange/auction. When forming BB platforms, it is necessary to take into account a number of important aspects. Availability for new members. Support for recognized development standards, e.g., web forms, XML applications. Scalability of the platforms used. Ability to manage information and apply analytical processing methods. Ability to integrate e-commerce tools. Ensuring information security. Depending on the specific type of site, they focus on certain characteristics and develop appropriate tools for suppliers or consumers. The BC sector is a form of e-commerce that aims at direct sales to the consumer. This form of trade is effective in eliminating the geographical distance between major cities and regions in terms of the availability of goods and services to the consumer. BC allows you to conduct direct sales with a minimum number of intermediaries. The elimination of intermediaries makes it possible to set competitive prices on the ground and even increase them, excluding the percentage of intermediaries, which naturally leads to an increase in profits. BC systems include web storefronts, front office of trading companies to attract potential buyers to the products of these companies. Internet stores that only sell goods and contain the necessary infrastructure, back office, for the production of sales and management of e-commerce via the Internet. Internet trading companies where the electronic sales system, back office, is fully integrated with all trading business processes. For the full functioning of the online store, the following mandatory components are required. Web server that performs access control and distributes requests. An application server that manages the business logic and implements the necessary set of processes. Databases and DDMs for data collection, storage, processing and management. An electronic payment system that includes an electronic digital signature. The management structure of the Internet store is implemented, as a rule, in the form of a three-tier architecture: client, application server, database server. To integrate the online store with the business processes of the main company, a gateway converter can be installed to transfer data from the store to the accounting system and the company's documentation support system. The CB sector. First, CB is a form of e-commerce that provides consumers with the ability to independently set the price of various goods and services offered by companies. In this way, the demand is formed, which, however, does not mean that the sale will be made at the requested price. The seller, using the statistics of the current demand, makes the final decision, and after that the product is released for sale at an average price. Secondly, CB is a set of methods, tools and technologies for performing online transactions between consumers, individuals or small associations of private entrepreneurs, and enterprises. An example is the websites of business consultants, lawyers, promoters, profiteers, specialists in optimizing the activities of enterprises, auditors, advertising agents, and other specialists who are able to provide services to enterprises. CC sector. A form of electronic commerce, the essence of which is to organize the purchase and sale of goods and services between consumers. In this case, a personal website of an individual or a specialized website with a section of free ads acts as an intermediary between the buyer and the seller. The transaction can be made either directly via the Internet, if both parties have payment instruments, or in cash, if all issues are agreed upon using the Internet. As an example, you can use a resource //DAW Melotic, one of the leading Russian auctions, where everyone can sell or buy something. Finally, in conclusion, the sum of all four e-commerce sectors less than BB, BC, CB, CC greater than is its generalized social resource. A business currently has many varieties, determined by the specific tasks of the business and the information technologies used. These are internet trading systems, internet exchanges and auctions, electronic payments, credit and debit systems, electronic checks and money, internet insurance, rental of web services, recruitment, language services and much more. Depending on the focus of the content, the resource less than BB, BC, CB, CC greater than implements the corresponding aspect of e-business in the transition period from the post-industrial to the information society. Mobile commerce and commerce. This is the translation of e-commerce into mobile forms. Mobile commerce makes the user even more independent, without tying it to a desktop computer or server. It provides all the features of e-commerce, if the user has mobile devices for receiving and transmitting information, accessing the internet and making transactions. The basis of mobile commerce is the WAP and egg pairs protocols, which allow you to go online, download information, view it on a mini display and perform numerous e-commerce operations. Mobile commerce is developing very rapidly. For example, a well-known mobile phone with a WAP function or its own microbrowser is now also becoming a means of identifying the owner, performs the functions of a bank credit card, allows you to access the global network, make ticket orders, perform commercial operations, etc. A single information space. A single information space is a set of databases and data banks, information and knowledge, technologies for their maintenance and use, information systems and telecommunications networks that operate on the basis of common principles and common rules that ensure information interaction between organizations and citizens, as well as meeting their information needs. A single information space consists of the following main components. Information resources containing data, information and knowledge recorded on the appropriate media. Organizational structures that ensure the functioning and development of a single information space, in particular, the collection, processing, storage, dissemination, search and transmission of information. Means of information interaction between citizens and organizations that provide them with access to information resources based on appropriate information technologies, including software and hardware tools and organizational and regulatory documents. Organizational structures and means of information interaction form the information infrastructure. Information activity, as a set of information processes in society, determines the information potential, which is an integral component of the economic potential of society on a par with material production and natural resources. The main objectives of the formation of a single information space are ensuring the rights of citizens to information, proclaimed by the Constitution. Creating and maintaining the necessary level of information capacity for the sustainable development of society. Improving the consistency of decisions taken by federal government bodies, regional authorities, and local self-government bodies. Raising the level of legal awareness of citizens by providing them with free access to legal and regulatory documents defining their rights, obligations, and opportunities. Enabling citizens and public organizations to monitor the activities of federal government bodies, regional authorities, and local self-government bodies. Increasing the business and social activity of citizens by providing equal opportunities with state structures to use open scientific and technical, socio-economic, socio-political information, as well as information funds in the fields of education, culture and social sphere. Integration with the global information space. Work on the development of the information space in the advanced countries of the world has been carried out and is being carried out on the initiative and under the patronage of the highest state officials. For example, in the United States, Great Britain, France, and Germany, the development of telecommunications and communication networks, computer technology, and information systems was initiated by the administrations of presidents, prime ministers, and with significant financial support from the state budget, as well as various non-governmental and corporate funds. Currently, at the initiative of the US President, a new round of development of the US National Information Infrastructure, the National Information Infrastructure Agenda for Action, is unfolding, designed to strengthen the country's position as the most developed information society in the world. The US Government Open System Interconnection Profile (GOSIP) has the status of a recognized international standard. Informal information space, social networks. The above-mentioned aspects of the formation of a single information space and the problems of its integration with the world information space mainly affected the formalized side of this process. Many researchers have noted that, despite the importance of information as the basic object of the information society, it is still gradually ceasing to be a determining parameter, since the value of information that cannot be transmitted for use is sharply reduced. Thus, the parameter for assessing the information society has changed significantly. Not only information, but also effective communication turns out to be its meaning-forming core. Communications, including electronic communications, are a real means of establishing social connections in the information society. By definition, social connections are a set of conscious or unconscious, necessary and accidental, stable and spontaneous dependencies of some social subjects and objects on others. The impact of social actors on each other. A set of factors that ensure the joint activity of individuals and social communities, combining them into a functional whole capable of stability and development. An organized system of relations, institutions, and means of social control that unite individuals, subgroups, and other components into a functional whole capable of sustainability and development. The global internet networks have long provided citizens of various states with the means for extensive informal communication. We are talking about the rapidly developing phenomenon of social networks. The beginning of the modern theory of social networks was laid in 1951 by Ray Solomonoff and Anatoly Rapoport. The term social network was coined in 1954 by James Barnes, a sociologist at the Manchester School, in his work, Classes and Meetings in a Norwegian Island Parish, which was included in the collection Human Relations. He developed an approach invented in the 1930s to the study of relationships between people with the help of sociograms, visual diagrams in which individuals are represented as points, and the connections between them in the form of lines. This approach is based on sociometry, a psychotechnical method for determining the distribution of roles in a team. In 1959-1968, Hungarian mathematicians Paul Erdős and Alfred Renyi wrote 8 articles describing the principles of the formation of social networks. Duncan J. Watts and Stephen H. Strobitz developed the theory of social networks, and among many other discoveries introduced the concept of clustering coefficient, the degree of proximity between heterogeneous groups. By the 70s of the 20th century, a complex of sociological and mathematical research methods was finally formed, which formed the scientific foundation of modern analysis of social networks. A social networking service is a platform, online service, or website designed to build, reflect, and organize social relationships. Social sales is a relatively new concept that indicates that a business uses social media to understand potential customers and target them. Similarly, salespeople and employees use social media to strengthen their brand, form and maintain business relationships that ultimately lead to sales. In essence, it's just about finding potential customers and getting recommendations that will provide more profit for your business. However, social sales is not just a buzzword, it is a legitimate marketing strategy that can increase your revenue and strengthen your business. In other words, you can start developing and building your social media relationships. There's long been a term for social shopping, when people use social networks to search for the right product. This process has a significant impact on the buying and selling process. Conclusion. In the conditions of a market economy, the internet business is developing in the world. It is fundamentally different from the usual non-network. It is developing as rapidly as the internet environment itself allows you to work in the virtual market, which significantly reduces the costs of small businesses. It allows you to significantly expand the range of potential customers. Thank you for your attention. Goodbye.